What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Kingsley, aka COPYWRITERS, and we're here to talk about 3 simple strategies that'll explode your website or blog's traffic.
Run that back, turbo.
Baby, sold out dates, cash every day. I got you a mace, I light up blue rays. This cheat on my pet, the condo a cave.
Alright, so let's jump right into it. So a lot of you guys have asked me online, what are some of the free tools that one can use in order to, drive organic traffic to their website or blogs. Now, there are a lot of different tools out there, but not a lot of them. A lot of them are actually expensive. A few of them being, Google AdWords, as well as Facebook, ads, just to name a few. Those are the more popular. But, there are also the social media websites, or social media platforms, I should say, that kind of help you get that organic traffic, Instagram being one of the most popular. But aside from that, I would like to talk about one particular tool that is the most slept on, in my opinion, and actually is may even be the most effective, and that is Pinterest. Okay, now Pinterest, for those of you guys that don't know, has been out for quite some time now, but unfortunately, Pinterest has been somewhat misunderstood. Now, for some reason, people are under the impression that Pinterest is just a place for people that are interested in DIY, interior decoration, fashion, as well as finding recipes, when that's simply not the case. In my opinion, I found Pinterest to be a great place for so many different industries and niches. Now, another reason why, in my opinion, Pinterest is misunderstood is because a lot of people are under the impression that Pinterest is a social media platform, when in reality it's not. For those of you guys that don't know, Pinterest is actually more of a search engine as opposed to a social media platform. Okay, you have to understand that. That's one of the first things that you have to understand when using these strategies. Okay, is that Pinterest is not a social media platform. It's a search engine like Google and YouTube. Okay, now I say that because on places like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you're there to kind of engage and create a sense of community with people. On Pinterest, you're there to share and find information the same way you would on Google or YouTube. Now, the second strategy you want to go ahead and implement is finding out who it is that you want to attract. Now, some of you may be asking, how is it that you're going to go about doing that? You want to first start off by, starting with your interests. Okay. Now, once you've started with your interests, you want to start posting your own content, or if you don't have your own original content, you want to go ahead and pin things that you like that are within your interests. Okay. And then after that, you want to go ahead and check to see basically what performs well. Okay, basically, the way you'll be doing this is you'll be applying, obviously, or creating a business, a business Pinterest account that will allow you to go ahead and go, on the back end and use the, Pinterest analytics and be able to see, which posts that you've posted or pinned that are doing better than the other. Okay, now after you have done that, you want to go ahead and get more specific. All right, and then that means, taking that analytical information, finding out what it is that's working, getting specific about what actually works, and then, start to model your blog around, those things that you've found that are performing well on your Pinterest. Now, the third strategy you want to go ahead and implement is you want to start to understand the Pinterest algorithm. Now, this particular strategy I'm going to be spending a lot more time on because it's a lot more complex than the first two. But the Pinterest algorithm is actually called Smart Pins, and what they do is that they basically push what they dub the best pins to the very top. Okay, so what that means is you want to be providing the best high quality content in order to kind of hack the Pinterest algorithm. Okay, now there are other things that you can do in order to kind of hack this Pinterest algorithm. Now, what you want to do is you want to think about all the possible categories you discuss on your blog. Okay, and you want to start to create at least 20 different boards on your Pinterest account. Okay. Now, once you've done that, you want to go ahead and start naming these boards something that you believe, people will be searching for. Because obviously, like we said earlier, Pinterest is a search engine. So just like in Google, Google SEO or YouTube, you want to use, titles that basically people are searching for. You want to be very descriptive in what you think people will be searching, basically. Then also you want to go ahead and pin your own original content. In the beginning, it might be hard for some of you guys to provide Pinterest with your own personal pinnable content, and that's simply because you're just getting started on your website or your blog, so you don't have a lot of content on those platforms. So what we suggest is, if you don't have a lot of your own personal content, you want to go ahead and start off by pinning other people's content in order to kind of gain that momentum. And then once you've obviously gained that momentum, you want to go ahead and start sharing and pinning your own content. And next, you want to go ahead and start only using informational and evergreen content. And this is because, obviously, again, like we said, Pinterest is a search engine. People are searching for information as well as recipes, and recipes is a form of information. But typically, people go on Pinterest in order to find information. So you want to make sure that the content that you are posting or pinning rather onto Pinterest is informational content and evergreen. And for those of you guys that don't know what evergreen is, it's evergreen content is basically things that don't go out of style, things that don't go out of date. Next, you want to only use keywords that you believe people are searching for. So start to think of things that you would search, or things you believe people are searching, and use those as your as your keywords. So only use phrases and questions that you believe people are using or would use, or you would use, and use those as your keywords. And if you're having trouble in this area, quick hack or tip for not only your keywords or your tips, or your keywords and your titles for your pins, is the Pinterest analytical tool. All right, now the way you access that is you have to obviously apply for your Pinterest business account. And once you have that, you'll have access to your backend and Pinterest analytics. You can go there and just simply type in something that you believe people are searching for, and what you'll start to see is Pinterest will start to bring up all the popular searches within that niche or whatever word you type in, and you can go ahead and start using those keywords or titles to kind of form blog posts around, or even use for for keywords in your description. Next, you want to create a template for your brand as well as your images, so that way you're not always creating something new, and it keeps the theme within all of your pins consistent. Now, some of you guys may be asking, how is it that I'm going to be creating this content or images for Pinterest? Now, some of the tools that I use is Photoshop, Canva, as well as Pablo by Buffer. Now, for those of you guys who are new or beginners, I wouldn't suggest using Photoshop. There's a larger learning curve for that. It's going to take you a lot longer to kind of figure out how to use that actual software. So I would suggest using Canva first for beginners, as well as Pablo. It's a lot easier. And pretty much you can get some thumbnails done within like a matter of minutes, 5, 6, 10 minutes tops. So yeah, if you want to create thumbnails, or you want to be create appealing looking pinnable content, you definitely want to check out Canva as well as Pablo by Buffer. Now, while we're on the subject of creating pinnable content, you want to make sure that you're creating Pinterest friendly images. Now, what that means is you want to make sure when you're making these images that you're using lots of color. You want to make sure that you're creating long form images, and they have to have text on them. Now, the best size I've found for these images is 800 by 1200, and again, that's 800 width and 1200 in height. Now, once you've done this, you want to make sure that you're placing those keywords that we spoke of earlier in the description of your pin. And you want to make sure to not even really bother about writing a paragraph in your description, because there's not really enough space and you really only have enough space to put the keywords that you would like to put. Also, we want to also advise that you don't use any hashtags, because again, like we said, Pinterest is not a social media platform. It is a search engine, so they don't really do you any good. Next, you want to make sure you're only following people that you believe are posting or are going to post content that your audience wants to see. Now, the reason why we say this is because you want to make sure your feed is constructed in a way to, when you're scrolling, you're able to find things that you can just pin. You get what I'm saying? And this is especially needed in the earlier stages when you don't have your own pinnable content. Next, while we're on the topic of your own personal or original Pinterest content, you want to make sure that you're giving incentives within your blogs, okay? Now, the reason for this is when you're creating these images, you want to make sure you're within the text, you're putting these incentives there, and that will kind of make for a clickbait pin. Okay, and it will make people want to actually click onto those pins, and those pins will eventually kind of direct that traffic to your blog or your website. And that's pretty much it, man. Like I said in the beginning, the first two strategies were a lot simpler, but the third strategy, in my opinion, is the most important. But if you're able to implement and execute all three of these strategies, you're more than likely to explode the traffic on either your website or your blog. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm going to continue trying to bring you guys value like this in the future. But if you guys did enjoy this, it'd be greatly appreciated if you can go ahead and smack the hell that like button for your boy, as well as share this content with anyone you think may be interested in things like this, as well as hit that subscribe button, man. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any other questions, please get in the comment section down below and put those comments or questions there, and I'll get to them at my earliest convenience, man. Having said that, again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll get at you guys in the next one.
I got too many I can't fuck 'em all. Don't know how to play, but I ball. Stacking that money up, make it tall. Ooh, the ass on my neck got me frost. Mama ain't make no, she made a boss. My diamond, they shine when the light turned off. Rockin' designer, I'm dripping the sauce. All of my diamond real, so they call.